Hey everyone, it's Damon. Have you ever struggled to follow God's commands? I know I have. But what if I told you there's a secret to making it not just easier, but life-changing? It's all about loving obedience, and it comes straight from Jesus' words in John 14:15. In this video, we're going to unpack what it really means to keep God's commands out of love, not just duty. We'll explore how this shift in perspective can transform your relationship with God, from experiencing His presence in a new way to seeing opportunities open up. Get ready to discover the incredible journey that starts when you combine love and obedience. Your faith is about to come alive. Have you ever felt like obeying God is just too hard? Like, you know what you're supposed to do, but it feels impossible? Well, I've got a story that might hit close to home for a lot of you. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mom who was really struggling to make ends meet. She knew she should tithe, but how could she give money she didn't have? Sarah would stare at her stack of bills, feeling this mix of guilt and frustration. Maybe you've been there too, that pit in your stomach, when you know you should be doing something, but it just feels so out of reach. Sarah's mind was a battlefield. She'd pray for guidance, then immediately start planning how to stretch her last few dollars. It was like being on an emotional roller coaster, wondering if she was failing as a mom, as a Christian, or both. But here's the thing, deep down, Sarah felt this nagging sense that she was missing out on something big. It is like when you know there is an amazing party happening, but you're too scared to go. One Sunday, Sarah decided to take a leap of faith. She tithed a small amount, barely noticeable in her budget. And you know what? Things started to change. Not in a win the lottery way, but in these small, amazing ways. A friend gave her a surprise gift card. She got an unexpected discount on groceries, and even a small raise at work. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's just coincidence, right? But here's the deal. Tithing isn't about God needing our money. It's about trust, about putting God first in our lives. And get this, Sarah's story isn't unique. Did you know that about 30% of Christians find it super challenging to tithe regularly because of their financial situations? That's almost 1 in 3 people. It's not just you struggling with this stuff, but let's be real. It's not always easy. There's a reason so many of us struggle with this. It's so tempting to think, well, I can't afford to give right now. God will understand. And maybe He does understand. But what if by holding back, we're actually holding ourselves back from experiencing something amazing? It's like we're in this beautiful garden, but we're so focused on counting our seeds that we miss out on planting them and watching them grow. What if obedience isn't about God trying to take something from us, but about Him trying to give something to us? So here's my challenge to you. What's your tithing moment? What's that thing God's asking you to trust Him with? It might be scary, but remember Sarah's story. Sometimes the biggest blessings come from the scariest leaps of faith. Are you ready to jump in? Alright, let's talk about something that might make you a little uncomfortable. Have you ever felt that nagging feeling in your gut? Like God's trying to tell you something, but you just ignore it? Yeah, me too. It's crazy how we sometimes think we know better than the Creator of the universe, right? Well, I've got a story that might just change the way you look at those little acts of disobedience we all slip into sometimes. Meet Tom. This guy had it all, or so he thought. Successful business, nice car, big house. But here's the thing. Tom was all about his career. Family dinners? Nah, he's got a meeting. Kids' soccer game? Sorry, important client call. You get the picture. Now, Tom wasn't a bad guy. He loved his family, he really did. But somewhere along the line, he got it in his head that providing for them meant being at the office 24/7. And let me tell you, that mindset, it's a trap so many of us fall into. So there's Tom, thinking he's got it all figured out when he starts feeling this pull. You know the one I'm talking about, that gentle nudge from God saying, hey, maybe it's time to slow down a bit. Focus on your family. But Tom, he brushed it off. I mean, he was killing it at work. How could that be wrong? But here's where it gets real. While Tom's business was booming, his home life was falling apart. His wife felt like a single parent. His kids barely knew him. And that connection he used to have with God, it was fading fast. You see, what Tom didn't realize was that his disobedience wasn't just affecting his spiritual life. It was seeping into every part of his world. Research shows that couples where one partner prioritizes work over family are 30% more likely to divorce in the first 10 years of marriage. That's not just a statistic, that's real lives being torn apart. But it's not just about relationships. Experts say that when we neglect our spiritual responsibilities, we can lose our sense of purpose and fulfillment. It's like we're running on empty, trying to fill up with stuff that just doesn't satisfy. For Tom, his wake-up call came when his wife sat him down and said those words no one ever wants to hear. "I want a divorce." Talk about a punch to the gut. That's when it hit him. The true cost of his disobedience. It was way higher than he ever imagined. But here's where Tom's story takes an amazing turn. Instead of doubling down on his old ways, he did something radical. He surrendered. Yep, Tom finally decided to listen to that voice he'd been ignoring for so long. He cut back his hours at work, started showing up for his family, and made time for God again. And you know what? Everything changed. Not overnight, mind you. It took time and effort. Tom found a richness in life he never knew existed. His relationship with his wife started healing. His kids actually wanted to hang out with him. And that emptiness he'd been feeling, it started to fill up with something so much better than success or money could ever provide. Hey, remember Tom's incredible turnaround we just talked about? Well, that's not the only story of unexpected blessings I've got for you today. Sometimes the tiniest acts of obedience can open doors you never even knew existed. Let me tell you about Maria, a college student who almost missed out on her entire future because she was swamped with schoolwork. Picture this. Maria's drowning in assignments, barely keeping her head above water. Then she feels this little nudge to volunteer at a local shelter. I know, right? Who has time for that when you're already stressed to the max? But here's the amazing part. Maria decided to go anyway, even though it made zero sense with her crazy schedule. At first, it felt like just another thing on her endless to-do list. But then, something incredible happened. Through her volunteer work, Maria met someone who would totally change the course of her entire career. That simple yes led to opportunities she couldn't have dreamed of on her own. And get this, Maria's story isn't unique. Tons of people have found amazing career paths through volunteering. In fact, a study found that 63% of employers prefer to hire people with volunteer experience. That's huge, but it's not just about padding your resume. Volunteering can help you develop those super important soft skills that employers are always looking for. Things like communication, teamwork, and problem solving. It's like getting free job training while you're out there making a difference. You know those famous people we all look up to? Some of them credit volunteering as a huge part of their success story. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. She started out doing community service, and it lit a fire in her to help others. That passion ended up shaping her entire career in media and philanthropy. But it's not just about career stuff. Volunteering can help you find purpose and joy in your life. Studies have shown that people who volunteer are actually happier and more satisfied overall. It's like a natural mood booster, but instead of taking a pill, you're out there making the world a better place. And let us talk about networking for a sec. Volunteering is like the ultimate networking hack. Tons of professionals have found their dream jobs through connections they made while volunteering. It's like you're building this amazing community of people who share your values. And before you know it, doors start opening left and right. Here's the real kicker. Volunteering can help you find your true calling. It's not just about the skills or the connections. It's about discovering who you really are and what you're meant to do in this world. And isn't that what we're all searching for? So, What small act of obedience might God be nudging you towards? You never know. It could be the first step towards something amazing. Hey guys and gals, remember when we talked about finding purpose through volunteering? Well, hold on to your hats, because there's an even deeper level of fulfillment waiting for you. And it all comes down to one powerful word: obedience. I know what you're thinking. Obedience sounds kind of boring, right? But trust me, this is going to change everything. Let me tell you about David. On paper, this guy had it all. Great job, nice house, perfect family. But inside, he was dying. Ever felt like that? Like you've got everything you're supposed to want, but something's still missing? David was going through the motions, feeling empty and lost. But deep down, he felt God calling him to something more. The problem? He was terrified to step out of his comfort zone. I mean, can you blame him? But here's where it gets good. David decided to take a leap of faith. He started small, reading his Bible daily, praying more, volunteering at church, and slowly things began to change. It wasn't always easy. Some days he wondered if he was losing his mind, but he kept at it, kept following God's lead. And then something incredible happened. As David kept obeying God, he discovered a sense of purpose he'd never known before. His work became a mission field. His relationships deepened. For the first time, David felt truly alive. You see, through obedience, David found the ultimate payoff, the incredible fulfillment that comes from living in God's will, and it changed everything. Now you might be thinking, that's great for David, but what about me? Well, here's the thing. This isn't just about David. It's about all of us. It's about you. C.S. Lewis once said, "Obedience is the key that opens every door." What if the key to unlocking true fulfillment in your life was as simple as obeying God? Studies have shown a strong link between religious commitment and life satisfaction. People who actively engage in their faith often report higher levels of happiness and a greater sense of purpose. Obedience to God isn't about following rules. It's about building a deeper relationship with Him. It's what fills that God-shaped hole in your heart that nothing else can satisfy. Not money, not success, not even relationships. Nothing compares to the joy and purpose that come from walking in step with God. So, here's my challenge to you. What if you took a page out of David's book? Start small. Set aside 10 minutes each day to pray or read your Bible, or maybe volunteer at your local church once a month. Just take that first step of obedience. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but I promise you it'll be worth it. Because when you align your life with God's will, that's when the real adventure begins. That's when you'll start to experience the kind of fulfillment and purpose you've always dreamed of. Are you ready to take that first step? Alright, let's wrap this up with something mind-blowing. Obedience isn't boring. It's the key to an incredible life filled with purpose, joy, and unimaginable blessings. Are you ready to take that first step? Here's your challenge. Think about what God's asking of you right now. It might seem small, but that tiny yes could open up amazing possibilities. Start today by listening for God's voice in your daily life. Pay attention to those seemingly insignificant requests you might be brushing off. Choose one and act on it. Remember, God's got something incredible in store for you. All you have to do is say yes. Make sure you like and subscribe to stay connected for our next video. You won't want to miss it. Until next time, stay blessed by the best.